Hello and welcome back to the Extra Time Talk podcast where we talk football and only football. I am your host Shiven Mohindra and joined by me today, as always, we have George Pavlu. How are you doing today, George?
Yeah, I'm doing alright, Shiven. How are you?
Before we get into today's episode, it is with sadness that we have to share the news about Florentina captain Davide Astori has unfortunately passed away. So our thoughts and prayers go out to Astori's family, friends, and the club of Florentina. We really do hope that this situation heals quickly for their family and friends.
Yeah, 31 years old in his sleep. I can't think of many worse ways to go. So my thoughts are with his family and his loved ones and all that. Yeah. I hope that I hope they can get through this, and it's just really sad news to hear.
Yeah, absolutely devastating news. We really don't like hearing these type of stories in football.
Yep.
All right. Without further ado, let's get into VAR, George, and we've had quite an eventful week regarding VAR. Why don't you get us started with? Let's start. Are you for it or against it? Do you think it's something that's gonna work in the near future, or do you think it should be abolished?
Well, it's been quite an eventful month for VAR, hasn't it? Let's be honest, with the FA Cup and all that, ever since it's been introduced. I'm for VAR in theory. I think some sort of video assisted technology that could help referees make decisions and make the game more accurate and make fans less angry as a whole, is something that I would support. The problem is how I think it's being used at the minute. I mean, the first game, the English game to use VAR, was the Brighton Palace game in the FA Cup, which I watched. And the second goal that they scored, people were talking about it coming off of Glenn Murray's hand. I mean, I don't think it did in the end. It looked like it came off his shins instead. But that's the sort of decision. Like, they talked about VAR using it for gameplay decisions. So surely you should at least check it with that. Just to make sure that the decision's not wrong. Because then there'd be no debate. Everything's cleared up because it's already been confirmed by VAR. So that's one thing I think is a problem. But even when it is being used, in my opinion, like, normally it's taking too long for starters. Like, it's sort of the main argument people have against it is interrupting the flow of like celebrations and all that. Once you've got to pause to make sure the goal's confirmed, and then you can celebrate, but by then the feeling's already sort of died down. It's not the same thing. So I think that there's a couple of ways to solve this. Firstly, I think you've got to do what you do in tennis, for instance, where you're only allowed each team's only allowed a couple of appeals per game. So that way, you're not every single decision is being lodged with VAR, and you are having some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? It feels a lot more natural in most cases. There's only a couple of cases per game where it might be a little bit dodgy. So that's one thing they should do. Second of all is, I think some of it is a matter of time and training in fairness. Like, they're not used to VAR yet. They're not used to how it works, how they're using it. I think once they use it over time, it will become a bit quicker and they'll be able to get the better decisions. But I mean, that's the other problem is, even with VAR, they don't seem to be making the right decisions at the minute. So they've got to actually be using it properly and spotting it properly. I think it was the Liverpool Spurs game. Was it Liverpool game in? I don't know if it was Liverpool Spurs. It was something with the VAR where they got. I think it was offside or something, or wasn't offside, and they got the decision. I can't remember exactly, but they used VAR and they got it wrong. So that's got to change instantly as well. Which I think that will come with time. But right now, I mean, there's a lot that we've got to do so far to get it to work.
Yeah, I agree. I think on paper it's a great idea, and it's something that will change the way the game is played and eliminate several mistakes made by referees that have shifted the course of the game and has costed teams promotion, relegation, 3 points, 1 point. I mean, it changes the entire game, essentially, these costly referee decisions. And again, on paper, it looks like a great idea. However, I believe the execution has been poor. Like, for the short span of time we've seen it in English football, I think execution has been extremely poor, in fact. First and foremost, I think they should adopt, not really the tennis style, but I think they should adopt the way that they use video technology in cricket, in fact, where each team gets one appeal. However, the referee gets unlimited appeals to question his own choices. Would you think that, I mean, like, obviously you can't have a team appealing every single decision, but do you think the referee should be entitled to as many appeals?
Well, I think the problem there is it gives the referees too much power then. I mean, I know they're supposed to be the ones in control of the game, but I don't think they should be necessarily interrupting it too much to their leisure as well. Particularly with, like, I mean, the whole point of referees, they're the ones supposed to be making the decisions. So, and then they've got to consult. They've got linesmen who are supposed to be making it there as well. So I think I think relying on the technology too much and allowing it to interrupt the game for their own benefit is not something I'd personally be too happy with. And I think, with the thing about VAR is that, one of the complaints people have with it, I noticed, was that if you do use it, it would slow down decision making and make it feel that's what I talked about. But the thing is, when sometimes linesmen do the same thing, like when a referee has to go over and question a linesman in case it's offside, it's exactly the same thing there, and it only takes a few seconds to actually get to a decision. So if we got to a point where VAR was like that, then I don't think it would be a problem. But right now, because it's so new, it takes such a while to get used to it. So I think it's, again, like I said, it's something that needs practice. And the whole tennis thing that I was talking about, that was really just an example of the whole appeal system.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I agree with you in the sense that I think teams should be allowed appeals for VAR, and it shouldn't be just it shouldn't be quite as easy to access the linesman, because then it stops the linesman from doing their job and stops the referee from doing their job, I think, and I don't think we should be allowing that.
Precisely, yeah, I agree. I think there is a lot of value in referees and linesmen getting first-hand experience on the pitch. But again, the VAR is only used for game-changing decisions. If I'm not mistaken, it's misidentification, red cards, offside that result in goals, and penalty appeals. Correct? I think those are the 4 ones that VAR is entitled to interfere with.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds about right.
Again, those are the 4 that will really change the course of the game, and those are minor errors those are minor things that the referee could easily slip up on. An offside decision. We've seen offsides so clearly being disallowed, and some of them very narrow, some of them blatantly offside. And this is something the VAR can literally turn on his computer, draw up the lines, and have an answer very quickly. I'm not sure exactly what the delay is every time the VAR gets used. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, for close calls. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. With offside, it's like goal line technology. He's either past the last defender or he isn't past the last defender. You only need a 5-second glance at it max to actually figure it out. Okay. And I think the whole thing, I think if there's a problem with not being able to use it properly, I think it needs to be actually set up, ready for him to take a look at the decision straight away. As soon as the whistle blows or something, you have somebody stopping the footage and rewinding or something, so it's ready for him to use and there's no delay, so you can get on with it as quickly as possible. There needs to be a lot more coordination there, I think.
Okay, I'm just going to stop you quickly where you said that offside is just black and white. We've seen some ridiculously close offsides that, could go either way. Like, for example, Morata against United. I'm not sure if you saw that, his offside equalizer. You could argue that, half of a hip was offside, or, fraction of his finger was offside. But at the end of the day, it's not as obvious as you would think. It's not as obvious as the ball crossing a line or not. I see where you're coming from in terms of the lines and if the players be past the line. But this is something that you can sort of argue, what's the scoreable part? Can you score with, the tip of your shoulder? And if that is marginally offside, is that disallowing the entire play and stopping the game?
I think then you've got to have a clear decision of what actually constitutes offside. There's got to be the referee's got to be told, right, if this much of his body has to be past the line for it to count as offside. If it's not, then you give the goal or whatever.
Fair enough. But I think the letter of the law states
I think a lot of decisions we've seen with VAR, offside decisions we've seen with VAR, are fairly clear as well. It's not
correct.
Only like a little hip or something. It's just he's clearly past the ball. He's not past the ball or whatever. So I don't think we can use that excuse in those cases.
Yeah. So again. I agree with that the ones so far have been poorly executed, and I don't have any excuse for the VAR referee. Decisions there, you have access to all this technology. And again, against United versus Huddersfield in the FA Cup, we saw those leaked images of what the VAR was seeing, and we see some dodgy, crooked lines being drawn. Come on, this is just basic stuff, basic things that are so easy to correct that you literally just need to rule straight lines and use your technology that's so advanced in today's day to get the correct decision made. There's no excuse when the VAR is being used for the decision to be wrong. The letter of the law for offside states any scoreable part offline, any scoreable part of your body. So again, what if a tiny fraction of your ear is offside? Is that constituted as offside or...
But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't constitute as offside because it's more like, it's like your head or something. It would count more as like the front of your head, something.
Yeah, exactly. If you're leaning
But I mean,
forward,
technically, a scoreable part counts as any part of your body. I mean, this is what I mean. They need to clear up the rules a lot more and make sure the referee knows exactly what they're talking about. And if the fans come out and criticise that and say, well, that shouldn't count as offside, well, the referee should just say, well, I'm sorry, that's in the rule book. So, I'm just doing my job. No one can blame him for that then.
Yeah, but I've seen some. But okay, in fairness, VAR needs to be implemented to the Premier League ASAP. And I'm happy. Okay, yeah, I'll pose the question at you. Yeah, if the VAR is taking as long as it does now, but hypothetically saying it's 100% accurate, would you like it in the Premier League? It takes about 2.5 minutes per decision.
That's a good question. I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, obviously, I want all of the games as accurate as possible and getting all the decisions right. But I'm a bit of a hopeless romantic as well. I want that feel. I want to be able to celebrate a goal straight away, And if the VAR is interrupting that every single time, I don't want that taken away. So I don't know. It's hard.
Yeah, but okay. I think that's quite a petty argument that I'm sacrificing.
No, I know. I'm not trying to. I'm not saying like that's the thing. I know it's kind of petty. It's just that it's sort of the hopeless. It is the football fan in me that just sort of wants to keep that. Like,
exactly.
Football's a very emotional, traditional sport. So I mean, sometimes you're going to have that. Even though I consider myself quite a logical person, even I can't help myself sometimes. So.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, we all have that sort of instinct in us that wants to just go ballistic when we put the ball in the back of the net. But like, let's pose it in a different sense that if the VAR is saving your team 3 points, are you really going to care about your feeling of euphoria for 10 seconds with your teammates, or are you taking the 3 points? I think there's going to be an opportunity cost arising somewhere. You've got to sacrifice one thing for the greater good of another, right? And it's just a very straight answer for me. I'm getting the VAR and I'm sacrificing whatever euphoric feeling you want or all that stuff. At the end of the day, you still get the goal, right? You just don't have that instant reaction. And okay, maybe it's different if you score in the 120th minute winner in the World Cup final. Okay, maybe yes. But a Premier League goal, when you have Harry Kane and Mo Salah scoring every game, I don't think they're going to care too much about this euphoric feeling if they're going to get football tighter, get the rules more accurate, and get the game more professional in a sense. Eliminating these very basic errors that are leading to very large consequences for teams, the league in its whole, and one team's poor refereeing decision that's cost them 2 points could influence a team below them, a team above them. I mean, it's got massive consequences for such a small decision. And again, I think referees are valuable to some extent. We can't be leaving so much responsibility to them. A, it amounts too much pressure on them. And B, we simply can't be leaving so much responsibility to the referees themselves to an extent where they can change the course of a game and subsequently change the course of the entire league for the year to come. And I know, like, we're sounding petty, that one offside call would change the league. But realistically, let's take a look at it. We've seen teams get relegated by a single point on goal difference. The leagues have been won on goal difference. 1 point, 3 points, 2 points. They're absolutely massive. And I don't think we should be leaving this much power in the hands of referees. So, George, I'm not sure if you agree and we think we should be valuing referees and giving them all this power, or you agree that we should sort of give them enough responsibility to make the majority of the calls, but when it comes down to game-changing decisions, that's got to go to the VAR. It's got to be perfect.
No, I definitely agree with you in terms of we need decisions as accurate as possible. I mean, we've seen how penalty decisions can influence the league and all that, and influence positions. I think the difference we have mainly is down to the whole romantic aspect, and I think that's mainly down to sort of down to clubs we support. I mean, I'm a Palace fan, so we don't score that many goals, and we play against teams a lot of the time. Every goal we score is really important. Is really important to us, and we play teams. Even whether we're playing the top teams or the bottom teams, they're always really crucial games. So scoring is a massive feeling. Whereas, you're a Manchester United fan, so a lot of the time when you're playing the likes of Swansea or Burnley, you expect to beat those teams. So scoring against them isn't really a big deal. So I guess from your perspective, I guess you sort of have that feeling a bit less than we do. So, I'm not saying that makes you entitled or anything. I'm not saying that at all. Yeah. But I'm just saying that we have different perspectives on it. I think you miss that feeling of celebration a lot less than I would, for instance. So I think that's sort of what's influenced our decisions. But I do agree with you. That's what I'm saying. This is why I'm not quite sure, because I do agree with you in the sense that decisions need to be as spot on as we can make them. And if referees need to use the obviously the problem I have with referees is I don't want them abusing it and basically not doing their job properly as a result.
Yeah,
but I also don't think they should be overworked either. So if they need the technology in order to do their job properly, I'm perfectly fine with that. Yeah. But I'm not sure how much I'm prepared to go at the expense of, at the football fan, because, we're the ones watching the game and paying the money. So I think we should be able to enjoy it as well.
Precisely. Yeah, so I think that draws our conclusion together that we're in favor for it. The current execution is poor. However, it needs to be addressed as soon as possible to sort of get the game flowing. I think if for a year or two, if we need to sacrifice 2-3 minutes here and there in the game and just have it added on in stoppage time, I think that's fine. But the other last argument that we can bring up is just that it slows down the momentum that one team could be having. For example, if you're in the late into injury time and there's an offside goal scored or something, you have 2 minutes lost, you need to sort of find your feet, get that communication going, building up that momentum and that sort of rolling on sort of mentality and just pushing the ball forward. You kind of lose that and you need to find your feet again after a short pause.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think with VAR could potentially extend injury time as well, because with how much it's being used. So you've got to be careful on that and balance it, which is why I think the appeals are necessary, so you don't use it too much. But yeah, VAR. Right now, I think, like I said, it's fact that I stand by what I said before. It's a good idea in theory, I think, but there's a lot we need to do to actually get it right, and there's a lot of people we need to convince as well, because from what I've seen, the majority of football fans are not happy with VAR. Period, let alone with how it's currently being implemented. So
yeah, exactly. But I think we've given our opinions on that. Last weekend, we saw Romelu Lukaku tweet about the NBA All-Star Game and how that should be brought into the Premier League. So just for those non-basketball fans, the NBA All-Star Game is when the best players from the East take on the best players from the West conferences, and they have it's essentially a friendly game where they're just displaying their attacking talents and putting on a massive show, theatrics, tricks, etc. And it becomes a whole all-star weekend where there's 3-point shooting contests, skills challenges, a sort of team shooting contest as well. So Romelu Lukaku tweeted out to the Premier League saying that he would like that to be implemented here and have a North versus South sort of all-star game where the best players get recognized for it and they get to play in a team and take on their opposing side, their opposing geographical side.
Yeah, like opposing quadrant. I don't know, whatever you call it.
Taking on their opponents. So again, I don't think this is gonna really shape football for the future. It could be fun for fans. Could be fun for the players. Earn a bit more extra money. Get the bragging right. Sort of get recognized for their great accomplishments. But then again, you have your team of the season that gives you that accomplishment. So if the Premier League are looking for a bit of extra money, looking for a bit more fun, then I guess they could put on the All-Star Game. And what I think, if this was to happen, they put it on in a city not in England. I think they should take it out to somewhere like the US or a neutral location and put on this sort of weekend.
Well, for me, I think the whole All-Star thing, you can lump into the package of, games being played abroad, the 39th game, whatever you want to call it, the extra game in the Premier League, all that. For me, this is what pre-season is for. Pre-season is when teams go abroad and, they have games against each other. We were in the Premier League Cup for pre-season against, I think, Liverpool, West Brom and Leicester out in China. So, that's what you should be saving all that for. For me, it's clearly a way the Premier League is trying to make more money, trying to make itself more commercial. I don't think the idea is necessarily a bad one in terms of just the entertainment factor. But I think even outside preseason, the likes of the Charity Shield, and it's something you could. That's not preseason, but it's part of football tradition, and it's a friendly thing, but it's not to do with this. You do it before the season starts. So I think it can be lumped in that bracket. Maybe stick it on at the end of the season after the FA Cup or something. Anyone who wants to play it can. But I definitely don't agree with you the bit about playing it outside of England. I think it depends if you're talking about England. If you're talking about North or South, English teams or something like that. If you're talking about Northern and Southern, like global teams, like from the Northern and Southern Hemisphere or something, I don't know. Then you definitely play that abroad. Definitely play that somewhere where there's a big catchment area. If we're talking about teams from northern clubs versus southern clubs, you have to keep it in England, in my opinion, because it's the whole local derby atmosphere. So you don't want to take people out of that by forcing them to travel abroad. In my opinion, that's not right. I don't think.
Yeah, well, I don't think the rivalry is going to be intense. I think it will sort of be like I don't think anyone's going to be too fussed if the team wins
if it's North v South, there's always an opportunity for banter and all that, isn't it? There's always going to be some sort of, even if it's not like as heated as United Liverpool, for instance. There'll be some. It gives football fans always want an excuse to go on each other. Let's face it. So a North versus South thing, I think, would feel that.
Yeah,
I think either way, I think you've got to keep it local. If it's that, it's North and South. It's a local thing. The whole idea is it's a local clash, so you've got to keep it local. I think.
Correct. Yeah, but I don't think there'll be any rivalry. Think about a United fan backing a City player and a Liverpool player all playing on the same team. I think it's just a bit of fun and banter. I really don't think there'll be any rivalries, any animosity, except
No, I don't mean in terms of animosity. I literally mean in terms of just more light-hearted rivalries.
Yeah, very light-hearted.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
The point is that atmosphere is not the same thing if it's not in England, in my opinion.
Okay.
Whether you want to call it light-hearted or animosity or whatever you want to call it. I think it would be a lot more enjoyable for everyone if it was kept in the country it was based in. I just don't see any point moving it abroad.
All right. So I had gone ahead and put together a North versus South team that I think should, if this goes through, this would be the team for this season, solely this season, who have been the all-stars of the season. For the North team, George, just let me know at the end if you agree with who I put in. In goal, David De Gea. I don't think there's any question about that. Maybe you can put in a case for someone like Nick Pope, who's just had a phenomenal season, taking the place of Tom Heaton. But I just think David De Gea is the best in the world, and no one deserves it more than him. Right back, Antonio Valencia or Kyle Walker. I've gone with Valencia. I think he's been superb.
I think always. I can see where this might be going.
Yeah. I think he's been absolutely superb, and I think he trumps Walker on this one. The two centre backs I've gone with are Otamendi, self-explanatory, and James Tarkowski. Arguably, you could put in a case for Ben Mee, but I think Tarkowski's been on another level this year. He's been putting his body on the line. He's been playing with passion, integrity, fight, until the 98th minute. He's been putting in a shift for Burnley, and every time I watch a Burnley game, I see this guy just doing everything he can to prevent that ball from going into the net. So that's my justification for him. I've gone with, at left back, I've gone with Ben Mendy if he was fit and if he was playing to what he did play in the little cameo that he had at the start of the season. I really was impressed by him. I would put him in, but if not, you could put in a case for someone like Ashley Young. Andy Robertson's been very inconsistent. We haven't had many northern good left backs, really. Could you think of someone? Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, I'm a bit lost on this team, to be honest. I mean, in terms of the northern aspect, I can give you. You could probably stick the whole Man City team in there, to be honest, and they'd probably be a good pick.
Yeah. Exactly.
But in all seriousness, I think in terms of I don't know in terms of the team as a whole. I mean, I don't know if that's something we should necessarily be. If that's something we don't even know if this is going to happen yet. So I don't know if the whole North-South team is something we shouldn't necessarily be looking at right now. I mean, it's mostly going to be made up of City United and Liverpool players. Let's face it. So
yeah, exactly.
Maybe a Tarkowski in there every so often. So I don't know.
Would Wilfred Zaha make your Southern team?
Well, he'd make my Southern team. I don't know if he'd necessarily make the actual one.
Yeah, your objective.
I think he is probably the best winger. Well, at least certainly good enough to make the Southern team as a winger, in my opinion. I mean, the only ones I can think of who are better than the only one I can think of off the top of my mind that's better than him at the minute is Raheem Sterling.
Really?
In terms of ability, and he's in a Northern team. I'm not just Sterling. He's the only one that comes to my mind. But all the ones I think that most of the ones I think that are outright better than him are all in the North. So unless there's no one that's coming to my mind, but I definitely think he'd be competing for a spot there. And I'm always biased as a Palace fan, so I'd put him in there. But I think he would deserve the spot.
Of course. Yeah, I agree. And I think one other pro of this whole All-Star game it would give a lot of the smaller clubs a sort of motivational boost and a confidence boost. Especially like players who get recognized for their hard work. Even if they don't start, if they're on the bench or reserved, or they get some form of recognition if they're not good enough to make the team of the season or the team of the year on a global scale. But I think this would probably give them some good recognition and motivational and confidence boost, especially the likes of people that have worked extremely hard, Zaha, and just not playing at the top level of English football, but definitely showing elements and promise of greatness.
Yeah, but like I said, how many of those players are actually going to make the team? Is it not going to be made up of just United, City, and Liverpool players? Maybe like one or two Burnley players on the bench or something. How much is that actually? I'm not sure that's really a massive factor you can include, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, again, I just don't think this entire All-Star game is just a bit of fun. I don't think it's sort of a money-making
No.
bit
Yeah,
of fun.
obviously. But if you're going to talk about it in terms of players' confidence and try and bring a serious spin on that, then I'm not sure that will. I'm not sure it will make much difference to us. It might do for one or two players, and you're obviously great for them. But as a whole, I don't think it'd make any much more difference than say the England squad, where loads of players from lower league teams or lower Premier League teams, because get a chance to play for their country and be in the same team as players like Harry Kane. So I don't think there's really much of a difference.
Yeah, that's actually a great analogy. I didn't actually think of that. That's a really good one. Yeah. All right. Arsenal. What is up with Arsenal? All I've got to say is that I'm thankful not to be an Arsenal fan. Their club is in shambles, and I couldn't express how triggered I would be if I was an Arsenal fan. The stupidity, the cluelessness, the just lack of common sense that is running through their club at this moment in time. They need to be revamped completely. And if they lose to Brighton today, I am confident that Arsene Wenger will walk or get sacked tonight. If Arsenal lose. If there's a draw, he'll keep his job. If they lose, he's gone.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Arsenal are still top six, so I personally wouldn't mind being a fan of them compared to what we've had to do. But I mean, that's perspective. I mean, we've seen, first of all, I'm actually expecting Brighton to beat Arsenal today, believe it or not. I think they're a complete state at the moment, and I think Brighton are on good form, as much as I hate to admit it. Maybe that's just me being pessimistic as a Palace fan, but I at least expect them to get something. I definitely don't expect Arsenal to put up a fight, and for that reason alone, I think Brighton have got a good chance here.
Interesting.
In terms of Arsenal, I mean, you've got Stan Kroenke, the American owner, who's basically running it like a corporate American company.
For sure.
Where he's literally just running it for profit. He has been doing this over years now, ever since they moved to the Emirates. And even when they do spend money on the players like Aubameyang, it's money they've built up for ages, and they know is inevitably going to benefit them and get more money. So, I mean, they had their chance to get rid of Wenger at the end of last year without spending a penny, and they gave him a new contract. They clearly thought that he was going to get them what they wanted and keep them stable, and he hasn't. So that's backfired on them massively. To be honest, I just want Wenger to go at this point. One, because it brings the whole debate to an end finally, and two, even as an Arsenal fan, I just want to see more blood in that club. Ever since I've been a Premier League fan, a football fan, Arsene Wenger's been the manager of Arsenal. So, me as a football fan, it's like when Alex Ferguson left. As much of a great manager he was, I was happy to see something different and see something new.
Yeah.
And we all know how United changed after that. So, it's all. I mean, that's from the side of again. That's my football fan brain talking there. But in terms of Arsenal themselves, they definitely need a change of some sort.
Yeah.
It's been getting progressively worse over the years, and I think they've been touted with the likes of Ancelotti. I think that would definitely be a good appointment for them if they can get him.
Yeah.
Whether or not they want to get him is another story. And if they end up with the likes of Brendan Rodgers instead, again, who's not a bad manager, possibly on par with Wenger, I don't know, but he's definitely not the title-winning manager that Arsenal seem to want.
Yeah, exactly. Firstly, I was absolutely depressed when Fergie left. I was devastated.
I can imagine that.
Yeah. No, but Arsene's time is up, and I just don't know why he's not trying to preserve any of his dignity and just walk. But this doesn't take anything away from the players. I've watched Arsenal's past few games. They have been shambolic. They have been absolutely abysmal. Hector Bellerin, the worst player in the Premier League over the last 3 games. He has been shocking. He has been absolutely dreadful, George. I don't know if you've watched the game, but he is really Sunday League schoolboy defending. Every movement's exaggerated. Cannot read the game. Cannot cross the ball. Atrocious decision making. Just poor football. Just all around a very poor footballer. Mustafi just sort of exaggerating every movement he makes, not reading the game well, basic stuff like play to the ref's whistle. Like, he's not absorbing the stuff, not understanding the way the game is being played, the atmosphere, the sort of tempo of the game. He's just lagging behind. And I don't know if this comes down to Wenger, the training staff, who it does, but these players are better than that without any coaching. Like, Mustafi is a World Cup winner. Like, he's getting one touch from Aguero and he's falling over, begging for an appeal or a free kick or some sort. Petr Cech's out of his reign, he needs to go, and they need to get defensive reinforcements in. would love to see who you think they could bring in. But at the end of the season, Bellerin, Mustafi, Koscielny, Xhaka, Cech, Elneny, Iwobi, Welbeck, the lot of them need to go.
You're listing the whole squad of this, right?
Yeah, a lot of them need to go, George. They've been terrible. They're not fitted. If Arsenal, it's a sort of a conflict of interest. You have a defense that's so crap, and then you've got these big ambitions. Like, connect the dots. It's common sense. You've got a bad team. You've got a bad defense. You're not going to win the title. If you want to win the title, invest your money into your defense and stop conceding goals. Like, they're just common dots that need to be connected between Arsenal fans, the board, the manager, and the players. Like, there's a massive disconnect. If you're aspiring big, if you want these big ambitions, you need to be investing money into this club. If you have this sort of squad, you need to be lowering your expectations. You're bringing in all this great attacking talent, but you've made Sead Kolasinac, the Bundesliga team of the season starting left back, look dreadful so far. I think the only player that's been mediocre, well, not mediocre, he's been good actually, Nacho Monreal. I think he's been putting in a shift, and Jack Wilshere at times. Jack Wilshere a bit inconsistent, but Wilshere and Monreal can hold their head relatively up high and say that I've been trying for this team. Every single one of the rest of them need to look themselves in the mirror and say, am I playing for Arsenal Football Club and am I playing for Arsene Wenger? Do I like this club? And even if they do, we see Hector Bellerin coming out criticizing people on social media, Mustafi telling people that he doesn't need coaching from outside, he knows where his defensive flaws are. Fix up then, guys. I mean, it's really a very sad thing, you know. You're seeing such talent going to waste, just a massive disconnect between players in the dressing room. You've seen it happen at AC Milan. They had the players, they're not performing well. They appoint a passionate manager in Gattuso who's completely changed them around, and they're getting results and looking like a bit of a threat again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not defending Arsenal's performances at all. I have watched them, and they have been absolutely awful, especially over the last couple of weeks. I mean, they lost to City 3-0 twice in about 3 days or something like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're right. The players' attitude is just horrendous. I mean, to be fair, part of that is down to the manager because he sets the mentality. At the same time, you know, if you can't get yourself up for a cup final, what kind of footballer are you?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I agree with you on Jack Wilshere. I think he's the one player that stood out for me. I think that's mainly to do with the fact that he's a local lad and came through the academy. He clearly cares about the club, so he wants to do well. And to be fair, he has. He's proven me wrong. I've slated him a lot of times, saying, you know, I don't think he's lived up to his potential. I do kind of agree with that, but he is showing his talent. Over the last couple of months, he has been showing his talent. I mean, I think that's the problem. The problem with Arsenal is, I think that sums them up. I mean, they've got great attacking players. Wilshere, Aubameyang, they just bought. I mean, they had Sanchez for the longest time, so they've always had that attacking player. The problem is their defense. I mean, like you said, Petr Cech is not what he used to be. I think that's something down to the coaching as well. They brought in Andy Woodman, who used to be our goalkeeping coach. Let me tell you firsthand, he hasn't got a clue what he's doing. Yeah. He took two perfectly good goalkeepers in Hennessy and Alex McCarthy and turned them into garbage. And we can see that's what's happening with Cech here. So I think, I mean, when they played us, for instance, they scored 4 goals in 20 minutes. We were 4-0 down the first 20 minutes. They absolutely ran rings around us, and then they conceded against us in the second half when they really shouldn't have done. I mean, we did up the tempo a bit in the second half, to be fair, but they should have saw the game out at that point and just put defence behind us. So that shows that they have attacking flair and they have the players to do it. Yeah. But at the back, there's just nothing there. So I mean, it's a mentality problem as well. The players have got to step up and do better because they clearly have the ability there. And I think a manager would help that. Someone like an Ancelotti, like an Allegri, I don't know. I don't think Allegri would go to them, but somebody like that who's passionate and can invigorate them. Look at Chelsea. You know, under Mourinho, they were completely mediocre. Completely, they lacked any sort of passion. Then when Conte came in, who's an energetic manager, who loves football, who can invigorate players, you know, they absolutely walked the Premier League title. Obviously, they're fading a bit now because Conte's sort of losing his impact a bit. But that shows what a change in leadership can actually do. Yeah. And Chelsea have been, people make fun of Chelsea for getting rid of managers all the time. But to be fair to them, it works. Every time they bring in a new manager, they win the Premier League or they win the Champions League almost all the time. So, but as Arsenal keep sticking with the same man, and they haven't won the Premier League in nearly 15 years now. So surely you want to think, as an Arsenal fan, I can understand their frustrations in the sense that all right, it's not as bad as someone like Palace, who's actually really, really bad. But you could be doing better, but you're choosing not to do better, and I can definitely understand that frustration.
Yeah, well said. They can do better, they're choosing not to. And yeah, it's just complete shambles and complete disconnect. I think it comes down to Stan Kroenke, Ivan Gazidis, Chips Keswick, all the board, just showing a lack of passion, lack of care for the club. And I think the single biggest mistake you can make as a manager, and just sets off alarm bells to the board, is when you've lost the dressing room. And it is safe to say that he has lost the dressing room. We saw this at Leicester. Just, if you want progress, if you want to actually be thriving, you need to make ruthless decisions. Sacking Ranieri, yes. Sacking Craig Shakespeare. They were homegrown. Shakespeare was the assistant manager. They both clearly cared for the club, but they're not performing. They've lost the dressing room, and you've got to go. Jose Mourinho, he's come off a title-winning season, and he's lost the dressing room. He's got to go. There's no two ways about it. Once you've lost the dressing room, the players aren't playing for you anymore. The club's going to go to shambles if you continue, which is what's happening with Arsenal. And
in that sense, I think in terms of the whole Ranieri situation, I think the players let him down big time. I think they could have been trying harder. I don't care how demotivating of manager he is. They clearly had stopped playing for him deliberately, in my opinion. The same with Shakespeare. As soon as they didn't like him, they just because as soon as Shakespeare came in, they were invigorated again, and he clearly wasn't that great a motivator if he got sacked less than 6 months later.
Correct.
So for me, if the players have, in my opinion, just have too much power in football nowadays. Yeah. And I think that, if the players were playing their trying their hardest, but just were it happened the same thing when under Pardew, for instance, under us. I know I keep bringing up Palace a lot, but I'm seeing similarities here. The players were clearly trying. They were doing their best. You could see they cared, but the man management just was not there. The organisation just was not there. It was clearly a managerial problem, so we had to make that change. With Arsenal here, there's definitely a managerial problem, but at the same time, I think the players could be doing more themselves because they're clearly, again, like I said, apart from Wilshere, they're clearly not trying. Like I said, you should not need any motivation to get yourself up for a cup final against Manchester City. You shouldn't need to be motivated for that. So if they were trying harder and they really did put it on the line and still got thrashed, then that would be different. Then I'd say, yes, you definitely need a managerial change. I'm not saying, I still agree with you in the sense that they need that change, but it's not quite the same as Leicester, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think that the players, there's blame in both parties here, and I think that's mainly down to how long this has been going on for.
Yeah.
I think it's mainly a timescale thing.
I think he needs to go. I think I'd be happy to see him go today. He's lost any dignity. All his legacy is gone to crap. I don't know if I'd quite go that far. I think even after this, I think a lot of fans will still remember. The stadium at the Emirates was half full for a Premier League game against the potential champions, the most likely champions. Justify that.
Look, obviously, I think this is mainly. I take what you're saying. Obviously, fans are angry at him, but I think this is mainly a here and the now scenario where they just want him gone. They don't care about anything else.
Yeah.
Once he actually is gone, and they look back at it, I think they will. I think the majority of Arsenal fans will see. You know what? It got bad towards the end, but all this stuff he did give us the Invincibles. He got us those 3 titles. It might not have been. It wasn't great at the end. But for all he definitely, in my opinion, if I was an Arsenal fan, I definitely see he did outweigh the good more than the bad, and I would, I'd still value him and I'd love him as a manager personally. Again, maybe that's different. Maybe that's different for me because I'm a Palace fan, and I can't imagine being at that club, sort of big club for so long and having those expectations raised. But I think that, I don't know.
Yeah, but the love for Wenger is just decreasing exponentially right now, and it's going down and down and down.
The longer he stays, the longer he hurts his chances of being remembered fondly. That's for sure.
And he's exceeded his stage. He's already gone over it.
No, go on. You just present?
No, I'm saying he's gone over it. Like, the longer he stayed long enough now. You've already lost a lot of remembrance and fans. Go now so you save a tiny portion of it. You're really losing it. In the past 6 years, what have they done?
I think he will save more than a tiny portion of it, but I agree. He needs to go. The sooner he goes, the better, because he's just going to keep losing more and more. Yeah. The longer he stays, and eventually we'll get to a point where fans just get sick of him and they won't remember all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Any concluding points for today's episode?
Well, both of our teams tomorrow, Palace, Man United. Yeah. We might as well mention that quickly.
What do you think?
Well, I think we might as well give you the 3 points right now. You could play your whole backroom staff and the tea lady, and you'd still beat us 2-0. So, at the end of last season, you played the whole second string team in preparation for the Europa League, all kids. I think Fossey Mensah might have been playing actually, ironically enough, and you still beat us 2-0. So, I think you're the only team we've never beaten in the Premier League. If we do beat, I'll take a draw right now. That'll take us on to 28 points. 4 more wins will get us to 40. That'd be ideal for me. But if we get a win, then I'll be absolutely amazed. To be honest, I don't think we've been playing well in the past couple of games. I think your win's pretty much assured.
Selhurst Park is not an easy place to come to. You put up a good fight against Spurs the other day.
No, it's not. But a lot of our best players are out, is the thing. And when Tompkins had to come on and Delaney had to start off and Delaney had to come on, we crumbled straight away. So all it takes is one little injury like that, and that's it.
I wouldn't write you guys off too early. I do think we'll come out with 3 points, but I think it'll be a tough battle. I don't think we'll just walk through you guys and just steamroll.
No, the only reason I'm writing us off is because A, I'm pessimistic as my own fan, and B, I've seen the whole results throughout the time. Whenever we've had the best chance of beating you, the FA Cup final, for instance, whenever we've had the best chance of beating you, we've still fallen short. So I'm just sort of using my head a bit there in terms of looking back historically.
Yeah.
But I do think we do have a chance to win, obviously, because we have been playing. I don't think we've been playing particularly well over the last couple of games, though, is the thing. But we do have the potential. We've beaten Chelsea this year. We do have the chance to beat you. Do I think we will beat you, though? I don't think so, no.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for this episode. But just before we go, I'd just like to give a little shout-out to Riyad Mahrez for a moment of absolute magic yesterday, scoring a free kick in the 97th minute and just letting his raw emotion out by sprinting over to the manager and the players. Knee slide that just showed his pure emotion, and I really do respect that after all the stick he got after his antics following the rejected move to City. So Riyad, just good on you, mate, for getting over it and showing that you are the bigger man, playing 100% effort in the past 3 games. Missed a couple of chances, but that moment of magic was something really special, man. That celebration as well just really let out how you feel about the club. So that's respect to you, and that really does set an impression on a lot of the younger players. But until then,
I think that I actually didn't see the result at Leicester at Bournemouth. I assumed I didn't see it until Bournemouth were leading for most of the game. I didn't see the last gasp winner, so that came a bit of not winner, equaliser. Sorry, that was a good, really pleasant surprise for me. Hopefully he keeps up more of this and less of the whole transfer antics, because you never know, if he doesn't get his way, he might start sulking again. But yeah, I think that was really good of him.
Yeah. Well, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts on today's episode. And until next week, we'll see you then. Bye.
Yep. Bye. Okay, so first of all, sorry about the lights. They seem to have gone off. It's just the motion ones. They seem to have gone off for some reason. I can't get them back on. So
yeah, no, it's fine. I didn't really notice. I didn't really.